for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Angels. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the 3-game series with the Angels. Angels won last night, and the Dodgers trying to split one tonight, and then they'll go to Anaheim for the final game of the 3. Tonight, it'll be an interesting ball game, not that last night wasn't. Hector Santiago will be on the mound for the Angels. He was an all-star, and he'll go up against Kenta Maeda, the Japanese pitcher who pitched a no-hitter in Japan a couple of years ago. He's the big mystery man, and everybody is interested to see what he does when he gets out on the mound. He has a great record. The Dodgers signed him, you may remember, to an 8-year deal, so he figures to be around for quite a while. For the Angels, trying to finish up with a flurry, they also play Sunday afternoon in an exhibition game against the Chicago Cubs, and then open up on Monday against the Cubs for a real game. As for the Dodgers, they'll have Sunday off following Saturday's game, and they'll open up at 4 o'clock Monday afternoon in San Diego, and that ought to be something. Tyson Ross on the mound for the Padres, and for the Dodgers, needless to say, Clayton, that'll be Clayton Kershaw to try and get the Dodgers off on the right foot. So those are just a couple of notes coming into the ball game, but the prospects of a very interesting game tonight with Maeda on the mound. We'll be back with a whole lot more coming up right after this. Friday evening to you, wherever you may be, here at Dodger Stadium. Game 2 between the Dodgers and the Angels, and then tomorrow night they'll finish up in Anaheim. Mike Scioscia, in his 17th year as the manager of the Angels, comes in with a good lineup. They won last night 2-1. In the spring, they've won 16, lost 8, and they have a half a dozen ties. Here's the lineup. Yunel Escobar will be at third base. Then Yi-Man Choi will be in left field. Albert Pujols at first. Cole Calhoun in right field. By the way, Trout is still with an upset stomach, probably the flu. He's here well bundled up, but not in good shape, and I doubt we'll see him. And I'm really sorry about that, because he is an outstanding man and a great player, and unfortunately we won't be able to see him play tonight. So Calhoun is in right field, and C.J. Cron will be the DH. Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop. Giovanni Soto behind the plate. Rafael Ortega in center field, and Johnny Giovatella batting ninth at second base. Now the big story tonight, let's face it, is Kenta Maeda. Maeda is from Senboku-gun in Osaka. And his size, first of all, shocks you a little bit for a big league pitcher. He's 6 feet tall, that's fine, but he is listed at 155, which is really slim, especially for a big league pitcher. However, he's been a big league pitcher, even in Japan. He has won just about every kind of award over there. He is what you would say a 5-pitch pitcher, because he has everything, and they say that he throws strikes. He has the 4-seam fastball, the 2-seam sinker. Then he has the cutter, the slider, the curveball, and the changeup. And he's pitched over 200 innings in 2011 and 12, and then 2012 and 13. So we'll see as he goes to work now on Escobar. The right-hand hitting third baseman takes low, ball 1. Interesting thing, and it's only spring training, but it holds up during the regular year, about the change in a lineup. Things have really changed. Last year, they put the spotlight on the Houston Astros. 2 years after the Astros lost 111, they're in the playoffs. The pitch to Escobar is a little low, so he's behind 2 balls and no strikes. He is very conscious of the fact that there are a lot of Japanese media here covering every pitch from every possible angle. 2-0 pitch on the way, and it's a sinking fastball for a strike, and the count 2-1. Of course, I'm not sure if he's going to go through what happened with Hideo Nomo. I mean, it became unbelievable with Hideo, with the media following and making note of everything he did. 2-1 pitch on the way, and that's a slider hit in the air to right center, very playable. Waiting there is Jock Peterson, and just like that, went away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Gonzalez, Hernandez, Seager, and Turner. Crawford, Peterson, and Puig, and Ellis handling Maeda. So 1 away. Yi-Man Choi coming up. A first baseman by trade, played left field last night and made a fine catch right on the side wall in the left field corner. Choi battling for a job over the next 2 days, tonight and tomorrow, plus Sunday for the Angels. They play an exhibition game there. And the first pitch to Choi fouled away. We were talking about the change in baseball and put the spotlight on A.J. Hinch in Houston. Last year, A.J. Hinch had 151 different lineups. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's low. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. It was 11 short of becoming the first manager to use a different lineup for every game. But Hinch came close to it. And then, for instance, when you're talking to the great Cardinal matcher, Mike Matheny, he can tell you about it. Change up fouled away, 1 and 2. Matheny just said, I want a lineup for 1 game. After that, could be totally different. And even the lineup itself has begun to change. Normally, you'd have somebody who is a contact hitter hitting second and the power hitter hitting fourth, but not necessarily so anymore. The 1-2 pitch, a little nubber to the left of the mound. Gold Glove is Maeda and makes the play for the out. So he covers the infield, big grin as Turner comes down to pat him on the hips. And the batter now, Albert Pujols.
First baseman number 5.
Well, you want to talk about East meeting West. Here it is. So the great Pujols checking in, starting to play first base. How long he stays out there remains to be seen. Ji-Man Choi playing left field, but of course the big man C.J. Cron could take over at first base along the game. So this will be interesting. A great hitter testing the great Japanese pitcher. Fastball away, ball 1, 1-0. One of the nice stories about Maeda was in spring training, and he was matched up against Hisashi Iwakuma. The 1-0 pitch on the way, chopper to third, short hop nicely by Turner, plenty of time, and throws him out. So we'll tell you more about Hisashi Iwakuma and Kenta Maeda when we come back. And at the end of half an inning, Angels nothing, Dodgers coming up. When you look at the two dugouts, you have Mike Scioscia, a manager for 17 years for the Angels, and in the Dodger dugout, Dave Roberts beginning number 1. Here's his lineup with Hernandez at second, Puig in right, Turner at third, Gonzalez at first. Crawford in left, Ellis behind the plate, Jock Peterson in center, Corey Seager at short, and the first pitch to Hernandez in for a strike, 0-1. Hector Santiago, he was an all-star last year. Left-hander comes back 0-1. Fastball chopped to third hard. Escobar is on it and gets it over the first for the out. So one quick out. Talking about quick outs, Maeda made 11 pitches to get the Angels in order. So here comes Yasiel Puig, and we'll mention a little bit about that story about Maeda in a moment. So here is Puig, who scored last night. He had the big hit to drive in the run. He singled home Corey Seager, then stole second, got to third, but stayed there. So Puig ready to go and showing great signs of it last night. Fastball swung on and missed, 92 miles an hour. So 0-1 the count to Yasiel Puig. Santiago comes right back with another fastball at the knees for a strike. 0-2. Hector Santiago is from Newark, New Jersey. The strike 2 pitch on the way is low, ball 1. 1-2 the count. When he worked out growing up, boy, he did a lot of things that even Rocky didn't do in the movies. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, fouled off. For instance, he would drag a tire while running through inches of snow in freezing winters, miles upon miles. He'd run on the local YMCA track. He'd also spend a lot of time climbing steps, and he worked with his dad. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled off. So he's living right there, 94, 93. You don't see left-handers usually throw that hard. Hector of Puerto Rican descent. When he was 7 years old, he started. He'd be up at 6 and would end deep into the evening, working, drying the infield. The next pitch high and away, 2-2. They would dry the infield with cat litter or dragging mattresses over. Which reminds me, we had a car come and leave some oil on my driveway. Nobody likes to have that. And I was told to get cat litter. 2-2 pitch on the way, foul back, and put the cat litter on the stain. Did it work? Haven't done it yet. So not doing it has not done anything but wave the stain, but we'll try the cat litter. 2-2 the count. Hector Santiago. Difference completely with Maeda. Here's the 2-2 pitch low. Santiago checks in at 210. Maeda at 155. So 3 balls and 2 strikes. There's our man Kenta sitting in the Dodger dugout. A brief glimpse. 3-2 fastball, line drive, base hit into left field. Well, I'll tell you one thing, for Santiago and his catcher Giovanni Soto, surprised he just kept sticking with the fastball, and sooner or later Puig's going to hurt you. And he got a belt high fastball and lined a single into left field. So a 1-out base hit by Yasiel, and that will bring up Justin Turner. Consistency, thou art a jewel. And for Justin Turner, he is a jewel. He hit .560 in spring training, and he has hit in 10 straight spring training games. So Justin has come into his own now, a fine hitter. Right hand batter waiting. Santiago to the plate and gets a fastball in there. Instead of 94, took a little off and got it in at 91. Santiago was a New York Mets fan. Spent a lot of summers at Chase Stadium. Strike 1 pitch on the way, off speed. That's in there, strike 2. And as a fan, he was wild about getting autographs, and he got a lot of them. Then he got up against Albert Pujols in the dressing room as a rookie, wanted his autograph, and was scared to death to ask him. He had a baseball and didn't have the courage. 0-2 the count to Justin Turner. The next one lifted and banged down to third. They'll get one at second, and they'll get one at first. So Turner hits it hard, hits into a double play. No runs, 1 hit, nobody left. And at the end of an inning, no score. Dodgers and Angels, and it'll be Cole Calhoun, C.J. Cron, and then Andrelton Simmons in that order. We were talking about a little cameo, kind of charming. March the 21st, the Dodgers were playing Seattle, and the starting pitchers, Hisashi Iwakuma for Seattle and Kenta Maeda for the Dodgers. Now, they're good buddies. They train together during the offseason, and they are very good friends. The pitch to Calhoun, in for a strike. And at the end of 5 innings, Iwakuma, who's a veteran of 5 major league seasons and a one-time All-Star, was leading the field. And he walked by the Dodger dugout. Strike one pitch, swung on, lifted down the right field line, going foul and out of play. Anyway, Iwakuma stopped, coming up the steps in the dugout, Maeda. They shook hands, and then before he left, Iwakuma did a great bow in respect and then walked away. Not many scenes like that, during the regular season, and never between opposing players. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Kenta delivers a little high. 1-2 the count. A little while ago, we were talking about A.J. Hinch making 151 different lineups in the course of the year. And the average is 128. During the regular year, we'll try to keep track of just how many different lineups Dave Roberts sends up there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Calhoun, powerful left-hand batter, hitting fourth, but of course, without Trout, it's a different lineup for sure. On deck, the DH, usually the first baseman, C.J. Cron. A pitch up and away, took a lot off it. Calhoun barely reached and got a little bit of it and fouled it back. All right, Cole back up. No score. We're just starting. Lovely evening. I think the temperature 65 degrees when the game started. The 1-2 pitch, lifted foul, off to the left and out of play. So Cole Calhoun, always a tough out anyway, and really doing a good job of making Maeda pitch. Last year, Calhoun logged more innings in the outfield than any other outfield in the game. He closed up with a rush, too, as far as power. 1-2 pitch is fouled away. For Calhoun, he had 26 home runs, and he hit 19 of them in the final 3 months. And, of course, that's when the Angels made the move and wound up losing on the last day of the season to miss out on the wild card. Another tough moment for Mike Scioscia, but that's all part of the job. 1-2 the count. Maeda ready, back with a pitch, swung on and missed. So that takes care of Calhoun. So 1 out in the second inning. C.J. Cron coming up.
Designated hitter number 24, C.J. Cron.
C.J. Cron has hit safely in 13 of 15 exhibition games. Right-hand batter, working out very hard to be the regular first baseman, and had a very good spring, hitting over 300. Maeda delivers, drops it a little low. 1 ball and no strikes. Kenta Maeda. We've been waiting a while. That last name, M-A-E-D-A. 1-0 pitch, swung on, ground ball to third, backhanded by Turner. Straightens up, throws it dark, and we have 2 down. The batter will be Andrelton Simmons, the rangy shortstop. Simmons certainly considered, and there's no argument in most circles, as the best shortstop defensively in the game. Andrelton with Atlanta last year hit .265. Big right-hand batter, takes a little low, ball 1. He's 6'2" and a good 195. The Braves hitting coach Kevin Seitzer wanted him to cut down on his swings and make more contact, and that helped him hit the 265. For that, 244, 248. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Simmons has a look and it's low. Ball 2, 2-1. For the Angels, Ron Renicky coaching at first. Remember, he was coaching for third for the Dodgers. Ron, a good buddy of Mike Scioscia. And Gary DeSarcina at third. The pitch missing inside. 3-1 the count. Talking about the pressure of the Japanese media, I'll never forget when Hideo Nomo became an all-star, and I think the game was in Detroit. Here's the 3-1 pitch, swung on, ground ball to the right side. Up with it nicely is Hernandez to make the play. In that game, before the game, the Japanese media followed Hideo Nomo into the bathroom. I mean, that's really pressure. At the end of an inning and a half, no score. April 13, Dodgers and D-backs at 7:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult hooded sweatshirt presented by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Adrian Gonzalez, one of the great clutch players playing this game now. Adrian up there with the big boys as far as driving in runners in scoring position. Adrian takes low, ball 1. Last year, a little bit lower in RBIs with only 90, but a big reason he didn't have as many at-bats with runners in scoring position last year as he did the year before. Fastball in there. 1 ball and 1 strike. Adrian may be a little unhappy on that call by Alfonso Marquez. Alfonso just waiting for Adrian to get back in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Second inning, no score. Santiago slided down and away. 2-1 the count. We were talking about Santiago getting a lot of autographs as a young player, scared to death to ask Pujols for his. But he did get, among other people, he got Sandy Koufax. Fastball is slapped into left field for a base hit. So the Dodgers with 2 hits, both on fastballs. Puig had a 9-pitch at bat in the first inning, and now Gonzalez opens up with a single to left, and Carl Crawford coming up. Carl Crawford will have some pressure on him to stay in the lineup. Crawford, as you know, playing about 80 games a year the last couple of years, victimized by injuries. He is a great first ball hitter. We'll see what he does right now. Gonzalez at first, and the Angels are moving Pujols off the bag. Santiago to the plate. Big breaking ball down and away, ball one. Major League outfielders 33 old above who are at least semi-regulars, that means 300 plate appearances, are a rare breed, and Crawford is one of them. 1-0 pitch on the way, taken for a strike. History shows they've been rare since the beginning of the 20th century. In fact, in 1906, there were 11 of them, and in 1966, there were 3. That's 33 years old or above. 1-1 pitch, and that's low, ball 2. Crawford born in 1981, so he's up there 35 years old now. Last year there were 17 players 33 years of age or older. The 2-1 pitch, chase, little ground ball wide of third. Escobar a late feed at second, and they get an out. So Crawford hits into the force play, and the batter will be A.J. Ellis. By the way,
number 17,
remember you include in that group Andre Ethier. So here is A.J. Ellis checking in. A.J. had a nice spring, stayed healthy, caught when asked, spelling Yasmani Grandal. I'm not sure if Grandal will be able to open up Monday in San Diego. That remains to be seen as Ellis whacks it foul down the line. A.J. jumped on that. A little while ago we were talking about Adrian Gonzalez being such a very good RBI man. He averages 326, Pujols 322, and Mike Trout 320 in those tough situations. Strike one pitch is in there. 0-2 the count. Who's the best right now? Well, Miguel Cabrera. So Adrian talking to Dave Roberts. It could be too that Adrian, and Roberts is that kind of a fella, he'd take some advice from a veteran player like Adrian. Strike two pitch on the way, low in the dirt, blocked nicely by Soto. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Dodgers, by the way, have made the announcement that Ross Stripling will be the number 5 pitcher in the rotation. And we're certainly not finished with surprises. The 1-2 pitch coming up. Santiago looks over at first. Now comes to the plate. Fly ball to shallow right field. Calhoun comes up, makes the catch, and then left hands the ball back in. So Crawford hit into a force play. Now Ellis a fly ball to right.
Center fielder, number 31, Jock Peterson.
And Jock Peterson coming up. Peterson knows all about life in the big leagues already. He had that remarkable first half. Before he knew it, he was a celebrity. He was an all-star. And then all the lights went out. So now he's trying to turn them back on. And with 2 down, trying to advance Crawford. Santiago plants that left foot. They load up the right side in a triangle. With 2 down, Crawford takes a cautious lead and draws a throw. Of course, Crawford in his heyday was somebody who really could fly and steal a lot of bases. But he has 2 problems, coming up to be 35 and facing a left-hander. Santiago again at the belt. A quick look over at Crawford, now to the plate. Little breaking ball, maybe almost a kind of a cutter or a slider at 81. 0-1 the count to Jock Peterson. Another thing that Santiago did, being such an autograph fan, he sent an Angel shirt over to the San Francisco Giants clubhouse to get an autograph of Buster Posey. Strike one pitch on the way. Breaking ball low. So that runs the count. 1 ball and 1 strike. Santiago, whose slider is a very good pitch. Working on Jock Peterson. 2 out, runner at first. Back he comes, showing a fastball down and away at 85. Soto out to Northland. Timeout for the moment. So Jock Peterson battling to stay in center field, which is the easiest way to put it. Last night, Trace Thompson played center and had a bad time with the bat, going 0 for 3, striking out all 3 times. 2 balls and 1 strike. Santiago thinks better, backs off the rubber, now back on it again, and looks into Giovanni Soto to get a sign. 2 down, 2nd inning, no score, and a throw to first, just to remind Crawford he has his eye on him. Carl out for a while in spring training. He's had some physical problems. He's been haunted really by injury. A good player who's played about 80 games a year for the last couple of years. 2-1 the count. There goes Crawford. The pitch taken for a strike. The throw down. Got him. So Crawford called out at second base, protesting lightly. That'll do it for the inning. So no runs, 1 hit, man left. And at the end, well, wait a minute. The Dodgers are going to protest just as if it's a regular season game. So we'll see. Pitch was a strike, the throw down, and the tag. Tag looked late. Now the foot came up. Did you see Crawford's foot tangle and come up off the bag? The throw to Giovatelli, it looks like he's out, but then you see that foot coming up and down, and now the Dodgers have decided no challenge. Roberts looked over at Steve Yeager, didn't do it, and we'll be back. And was thrown out. If you're watching on television, see Giovatelli's left foot. Well, Crawford slid into Giovatelli's foot That's why Gio is hopping in the air. So Crawford was out because of that, and Gio Vitella bouncing around as if he had a hot foot. So a nice call by umpire Pat Hoberg. Meanwhile, looping single to left field by the catcher Giovanni Soto, and we have a man aboard with nobody out. That would be the first hit given up by Kenta. And the batter now will be Rafael Ortega. Santiago has made 30 pitches in his 2 innings. Maeda made 25. So Ortega checks in. By the way, when you get Carl Crawford out trying to steal a base, the odds are against you when he's going. Although, as we said, he's coming up 35. Big ground ball, and it goes into right field for a base hit. So singles by Soto and Ortega. Soto stopping at second, and that will bring up Johnny Giotella unless his foot hurts him. Nope, he's okay. There he is.
Johnny Giotella.
So a rally by the Angels. First and second, nobody out, and Giovitella checking in. A note on Crawford. He ranks 42nd all time in stolen bases with 480. And he is second only to Ichiro, who has 498 among active players. And it was the difference of his spikes on Giovatella's foot as opposed to being on the bag. All right, 2 on, nobody out. Giovitella, Escobar, and Choi. Giovitella shows bunt, takes low. 1 ball and no strikes. Johnny battling to be the regular second baseman. Went 0 for 4 last night. Maeda. Right foot on and off the rubber, not quite ready to pitch. Dodgers look bunt. Gonzalez in on the grass. Turner right on the edge of the grass. The outfield has shortened up, and the bunt attempt is missed. So 1 ball and 1 strike. Mike sending the message out to Gary and Ron Renicky. In fact, Renicky, he coached first yesterday, but he's back to his more familiar third. 1 ball and 1 strike. Welcome back, Ron. Really a nice man. No score in the third. Giovitella working on a 1-1 count. Kenta Maeda looks in to get a sign from Ellis. And the 1-1 pitch, the bunt is on, the bunt is foul, and the count 1-2. You would think it's easy, but it's not. Trying to bunt safely. Now, do you take the bunt off, or do you let him swing away? Joy talking to Mike for the moment. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Gonzalez pretty convinced he's going to try to bunt again. No, he's swinging. So for Johnny Giovitella, a bad at bat. They ask him to bunt, can't do it, and then strikes out swinging. So a failure to advance. Dodgers had one of those situations last night. And Trace Thompson came up as a pinch hitter with a runner at second, nobody out, and struck out. So here's Escobar, fly to center, 0 for 1. Last year, Giovitella had 9 sacrifices, but not this time. Yuniel Escobar, normally a shortstop, played second base for a while, and then wound up playing third with Washington, and that's his position here. Ground ball up the middle. Here comes Soto, the catcher. The throw is going to third and gets away at third. So not only did the Rogers give up a run, they also lose an out at third. It looked like Turner certainly had a play and couldn't do it. It was a strong throw by Jock Peterson. Another look, fastball up the middle, base hit for Escobar. The runner's going to score. 51. Peterson now has a chance for an out. and guns it. Turner had plenty of time, and somehow the ball got away from him. So that was a clutch base hit for Escobar. A poor defensive play for the Dodgers and Justin Turner. So instead of 2 out and a man at second, you have 1 out, second and third, first base open. And here's Choi. One thing the Dodgers are making note of, all 3 hits in the inning have come on the first pitch. And fastball is cracked to the right side. Run's going to score, and the out to first from Kike. So the inning should have been over, but it wasn't. And so the Angels have decided to do something. They have decided to go first pitch swinging.
Number 5, Albert Pujols.
And it's paying off. Albert Pujols coming up. The Angels have put 2 on the board. A reminder, last year, the Dodgers were the #1 defensive team in the majors. They made only 75 errors. And I'll be quiet and you'll say back to me, yeah, that was last year. Though a Gold Glove first baseman, Adrian Gonzalez. Dodgers had 75 to lead the pack. First one is low. Albert grounded to third in the first inning. So that's the first time an Angel took the first pitch in the inning. There were 5 in a row. He had a base hit by Soto, base hit by Ortega. Giovatelli messed up trying to bunt. Escobar, first ball singled up the middle. Choi, first ball singing, grounded to second. Pujols took the first pitch in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. Maeda set. Kenta ready and delivers changeup, and that one misses. 73 miles an hour. Rick Honeycutt watching his every move. So is Dave Roberts. And they're also making note of what the Angels have been doing in this inning. 2-0 pitch coming up. Maeda delivers another off speed, and Pujols way out in front of it. 2-1. It should be 1-0, but Turner handcuffed on a throw that set up another run. Well, I'm sure in any language Maeda knows, don't get a high fastball to Pujols. And he's low. Ball 3. Pujols slowly has a great career winding down. Still had enough to hit 40 home runs last year. Three and one with a runner at third. Escobar short lead down the line. Maeda set, looks over at third. Now to the plate, swung on, ground ball, fair ball behind third. On the money throw by Turner, and the inning is over. However, not before. There were 2 runs, 3 hits, and although they did not put up an error, though it is 2-0 Angels. Bottom of the third inning. Remember, in the last half inning, that throw to third, Adrian Gonzalez waited for Peterson and then talked to him coming into the dugout. Might have been the only thing I can think of is that throw that ate up Justin Turner. Of course, for the Dodgers, anytime Adrian Gonzalez talks, they listen. There's the throw. A two-hopper that jumped up. I don't know what Adrian could advise Peterson about doing. I mean, he made a perfect throw. It just bounced and ate up the third baseman. 1 ball and 1 strike. Peterson will be followed by Seager, and then the Dodgers pitcher, Kenta Maeda. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Angels. Interesting inning in the third when the Angels decided, okay, let's go after him. And all 5 batters in a row hit the first pitch. Pujols didn't because the first pitch was in a strike. It was in the dirt. 3-1 the count as Peterson takes high. Santiago, you're better off not swinging at the first pitch, statistically anyway. 3-1 pitch is swung on and fouled back. You might be surprised. The major league batting average when you're putting that first pitch in play is .336. Against Santiago, if you hit the first pitch, your batting average would be .136. Dodgers have a couple of first ball hitters, and he would give them a lot of trouble. 3-2 to Peterson. Swung on and missed, and down he goes. So 1 away, and Corey Seager coming up.
Shortstop, number 5, Corey Seager.
Looking at the pitches made by Maeda, he made 13 pitches in the third, so he's now made 38 pitches in the game. So here's Seager with Kenta waiting on deck. Over in Japan, he would be kind of like a silver bat winner. Made them many times, led in victories, fielding, hitting. We'll see. The next pitch to Corey Seager gets the outside corner. 0-2 the count. Seager last night had a couple of base hits. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Little cutter out of the zone. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tomorrow the Dodgers are in Anaheim, and then Monday for keeps, 4 o'clock, San Diego. Big slow curveball, 81 miles an hour. So down goes Seager, badly fooled. So the kids, Peterson and Seager, going to school, and we have 2 down in the third inning.
Number 18, Kenta Maeda.
Roberts, who was a fine player, will have plenty to talk about when he has one of his meetings, especially with the younger players. So let's see about Kenta, what he does. Right-hand batter. Santiago fastball and misses low. Throwing nice and easy at 92. Now the 29-year-old left-hander gets it low again. 2 balls and no strikes. So where Maeda has made 38 pitches in 3 innings, Santiago now has made 42, and he's not out of the inning yet. 2-0 pitch taken for a strike. 2-1. Maeda wearing number 18 to begin his career. 18 was worn so many years by the great Bill Russell. High foul ball, twisting over towards the stands and back out of play down the right field line. Nice crowd on hand tonight. We had 36,000 last night. Great deal of interest in the Dodgers. You know, when they were in spring training, there were 7 sellouts, and the Dodgers drew almost 156,000. Then add that, the 36 last night, and they've done very well. like most of us, fans are inching to get it started. 2-2 pitch is a half swing strike, and down he goes. So all Santiago did was strike out the side. And at the end of 3, it's the Angels 2 and the Dodgers nothing. Brought to you by Carl's Jr., the Midnight Moonshine Burger with moonshine glaze and garlic pepper onion straws. Only at Carl's Jr. 2-0 in favor of the Angels. Kirk Gibson, who can forget him? Who can ever forget that clutch home run? Kirk back home in Michigan. We certainly wish him well as he led the Dodgers to their last pennant and World Series. Further and further disappearing into the mists of time. All of a sudden, 1988's a long time ago. Meanwhile, Cole Calhoun will check in the 4th inning. Santiago has made 45 pitches in 3 innings. Maeda has made 38. Calhoun struck out in the 2nd inning. Dodgers load up the right side. He hits it the other way out of play. And the count 0-1. Calhoun played much of the year for the Angels. And in 124 of his 157 starts, he hit first or second. We were talking again about it. It's not the same game anymore. You have a guy like Calhoun with 26 home runs hitting leadoff. The only major leaguer, by the way, who played in every game last year, Manny Machado. Nobody else. That's disappearing. We're not going to see another Lou Gehrig or a Cal Ripken, I don't believe. Lineups changing every day. 0-2. Big chopper. Here comes Seager across the bag to throw to first. And we have an out. 1 down in the 4th inning.
Number 24, C.J. Cron.
That'll bring up C.J. Cron. Last night, Albert Pujols was the DH. Cron plays first. Tonight, Cron is the DH and Albert back to first. But it figures that because of the foot problem that Pujols has had and the surgery, he's going to be, I would guess, 90% of the time a DH. And Cron will be playing first base regularly. Strike 1. That, of course, when you think about it, Cron and Pujols, that was the origin of the designated hitter. What happened was in the American League, they suddenly realized something. 1-1 pitch, little low, that the older players who could still hit couldn't really go out there and cover the ground for 9 innings every day. And that was the reason for the designated hitter. The American League owners didn't want to lose someone who could still get headlines, and so they came up with that. Meanwhile, 3-1 the count to Cron with Simmons waiting on deck. Made up with 44 pitches. Kenta's next one in line to left. Going back on the ball is Crawford and picks it off. Crawford's a Gold Glove outfielder. Cron, meanwhile, hit that ball hard. Carl got a good jump, and we have 2 down in the 4th. Good line drive. Crawford parallel to the track, and it was just taking off when it got to him. He had to reach up and get it. Good play. 2 down, 4th inning. Crawford snares that line drive, and here's Simmons. And Andrelton Simmons grounded out in the 2nd inning. He's 0 for 1. Off speed with a straight change, and he misses. 1 ball and no strikes. Next pitch in for a strike. Simmons has never been a really good hitter, but he might be on track now. And the Angel hitting coaches, Dave Hansen, Paul Sorrento, they'll be working hard with him. 2-1. When Maeda signed with the Dodgers, he had to go through a physical examination. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Ground ball to short. Seager up with it. Takes his time, throws him out. The Dodgers didn't like the exam in this act. It involved his elbow, but he said no, there's nothing wrong with it, asymptomatic, and requested the Dodgers not reveal the injury. So we don't know about it. We do know we're going to the bottom of the 4th, and it's 2-0 Angels. Oh for 2 tonight, struck out, grounded out, but we didn't let the moment go without giving you a note about him. And the first pitch in for a strike to Kike Hernandez. Cole Calhoun was the only big leaguer to homer against both Kershaw and Greinke last year. He did it back-to-back days in Anaheim and did it in September. So he shouldn't let that thing go by. There's Clayton, of course, has that big date on Monday. And a drive to right, going back for a bit, is Calhoun. So 1 away. Say, friends, a reminder, guarantee your tickets to opening day with a 2016 Dodger Mini Plan. Choose from great promotional games which feature fan favorites like bobbleheads and brand new retired number pins. So visit Dodgers.com/mini-plan. 1 away. So Kike hits it to Calhoun. And here's Yasiel Puig. He had a 9-pitch at bat in the first inning, saw mostly fastballs, and took a fastball and singled sharply to left. He starts him with a fastball, 0-1. Puig had a big swing on that fastball as if his eyes lit up, but he came up empty. No balls, 1 strike, 2-0 Angels, and we're in the 4th inning. The Dodgers made one announcement today that was a surprise. The fact that Ross Stripling has made it as the 5th starter in the rotation. Joe Blanton is now loosening up, and he's another pleasant surprise. Another fastball at the knees, and Puig was thinking about everything but a fastball. So that means Santiago has struck out 4 of the last 5. And the batter is Justin Turner. Santiago throws hard. He gets it up to 94. Here's Justin. Hit into a double play. He was also eaten up by that throw from Jock Peterson. Off speed, pulled foul. So after a fastball thrown to Puig, he starts Turner with a changeup. Nice play, young man. 0-1. Foul back. Seeing that young ball boy down there in the left field line wearing a helmet. It's a switch hitter's helmet, which means that the ears covered on both sides. Years ago, we had a Dodger player who wore a helmet like that. And they said, is it because he's a switch hitter? No, they said he's listening to stereo. He's busy talking, never mind listening. 0-2 the count to Justin Turner. Santiago has made 9 pitches in the inning, and that's a fly ball to center. Rafael Ortega waiting, one-hands it, and that'll be that. So that's 8 in a row retired by Hector Santiago. He ought to get his own autograph. And at the end of 4, 2-0 Angels. of the Angels. Kenta Maeda is out of there. Kenta went 4 innings, allowed 2 runs, should have allowed only 1. 3 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts. And now Joe Blanton picks up. Big Joe, 6'3", 235, out of Tennessee. Went to the University of Kentucky, and that's where he lives to this day. He was with the Dodgers briefly back in 2012. Blanton seems to have turned things around. He was a starter. Now he's got the reputation of being a good long man. He sat out most of 2014. The Angels released him, and they had to swallow about almost $9 million on his contract. After sitting out 2014, with the exception of 2 starts for Oakland's AAA club, he got the urge to pitch again. So he'll be facing Giovanni Soto, the catcher, who singled to left field in the 3rd inning. Blanton gets a strike, 0-1. Strike 1 pitch. Fastball low. 1-1. One of the things, let's see if he's doing it now. Yes. He moved from the first base side of the rubber to the third base side of the rubber. That might not mean much to you, but to a professional major league pitcher, that's so important as to the angle he has on the hitters. So there he is, planting that right foot on the third base side of the rubber. 2-1. Fastball fouled away. After a year away from the game, Blanton seemed to be invigorated. Got a little bit more velocity. Got his pitches up to 90.8. It took a lot of work to get it up there, but he did. 2-2 the count. Being a starting pitcher and a 4-pitch guy most of his career, Blanton has still the 4 pitches, but they don't all have to work. Towering pop fly on the fastball. And Hernandez always somewhere around the ball. So 1 out, and the batter will be Rafael Ortega.
Center fielder number 39, Rafael Ortega.
Ortega singled to right field, sending Soto to second in the 3rd inning. And when the dust settled, Dodgers messed up a play at third, and the Angels wound up with 2 runs. 2 was enough last night. Angels beat the Dodgers 2-1. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Angels. Breaking ball strike. Slow breaking curveball. Dodgers no runs, only 2 hits. Puig a single in the 1st inning. Gonzalez a single in the 2nd. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ground foul. Wouldn't you know, Joe Blanton from Kentucky, after the year off and thinking about things, he signed a minor league deal with Kansas City. Had a 7-game stint AAA. Wasn't too bad. Then they traded him to Pittsburgh for cash, and there he was used exclusively in relief. Fastball banged to left, but it's coming over, and he comes right to Carl Crawford. So kind of a room service job, but that was more line drive than fly ball.
Number 12, Johnny Giavotella.
2 out. Johnny Giavotella coming up. I'm sure still smarting over 2 things. His inability to get the bunt down in the 3rd inning, and then the out when Carl Crawford's foot landed on top of Giavotella's foot, and that was the put out, the difference on the play at second base. Ball 1. When Blanton finally got back to the big leagues, he retired all 6 batters in his spring debut against the Chicago White Sox. 1-1. So 2013, he was 2-14 with an ERA over 6, and boy, he has come a long way back. One pitch, 1-2. Jerry DiPoto, who has long since leaving the Angels, said the signing of Blanton back then, it was a $15 million deal. DiPoto said it was regrettable, a mistake on my part. But what almost killed Blanton's heart and spirit, somehow he got a boost, and here he is. Jansen closes, Hatcher sets it up. The Dodgers have J.P. Howell. Maybe they have Luis Avilan to have 2 left-handers in the pen. 2-2 pitch is just low. I think Blanton thought he had it. 3-2 to Giovitella. 5th inning, 2 out. And that's smoked. Line drive, single to center. 86-mile-an-hour fastball. And the batter now will be Escobar.
Third baseman,
For Blanton, it's not just the number on the velocity. As we said, he barely got back to 90, but it has to be the movement. So 3-2 fastball, line to center, and the batter, Yunel Escobar, fly to center, single to center. Two runs, 4 hits for the Angels. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. We're in the 5th inning. Foul back, 0-1. So it's kind of an amazing story, the comeback of Joe Blanton. Whether it's successful, and it certainly cannot be called that yet. But if he makes the club and pitches well, good for him. No balls and 1 strike. Fastball, big chopper to Seager. A little, oh, he had no control to throw, so he had to get the out at first. So Seager had the setup at second, but couldn't handle it. So one way or another, he gets his man. No runs, a hit, a man left. It's still 2-0 Angels. 2-0 in favor of the Angels. And it'll be Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, and then A.J. Ellis against the left-hander Hector Santiago, who is doing a heck of a job. Adrian Gonzalez singled back in the second inning. Has a look at a strike, 0-1. One of the things that Hector Santiago does a great deal during the course of the season is to go to a full count on so many hitters. He's 1-1 now on Adrian Gonzalez. In fact, he went to a full count more than all but 9 other big league pitchers. Ball 2. 118 batters went 3-2 against Santiago. But interestingly enough, two fellas whom you'd think were just throwing darts and arrows and strikes all the time were not. 2-1 now. He's 3-1. In the American League, the Cy Young Award winner, Dallas Keuchel, he had 140 batters where he went 3-2. And in the National League, Jake Arrieta went 3-2 on 134 hitters. Ground ball to the hole, backhanded at shortstop by Simmons, makes the play, and just like that, one away. So the Dodgers thoroughly blanked last night. They wound up with just 1 run. They had 1 run on 7 hits. Puig singled home Ellis. So tonight, the Dodgers have nothing to show for it. 2 hits. Puig was doubled up on a double play ball. Gonzalez didn't get to second. So the Dodgers right now have really been shut down. Hector Santiago doing a great job. Down in the Dodger bullpen, J.P. Howell warms up as Puig peeks up over the railing, and there's J.P. Dodgers would love to have Luis Avilan, another left-hander, be in the bullpen, but so far Avilan has really struggled. He has not looked impressive at all, for the moment anyway. Santiago, who was so good in the first half, he was an all-star, but struggled in the second half. Crawford now has the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. One and 2. Sliced away. Good fastball at 93. Two runs, 4 hits for the Angels. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. 1 out, 5th inning. Dodgers have not had a man on base really since Gonzalez singled. 9 in a row retired. Here's Crawford, who hit into a force play in the second inning. 1 and 2. Now 2 and 2. That was really a changeup. He's thrown as hard as 94. That was 72. That one's inside third and down the line. Choi over to get it, and it's not going to come to him, so he has to go and get it. And into second base is Crawford with a double. So the Dodgers finally get a base runner. They haven't had one since Gonzalez in the second inning. And Crawford stays on that fastball and bangs it inside the chalk and down the line. So A.J. Ellis will be coming up, trying to pick up Carl Crawford, and after Ellis, Jock Peterson. A.J. Ellis flied to right in the second inning, unloaded a long foul to left before foul out. We told you a sour note, in a sense, about Santiago going 3 and 2, but there's a very, very bright, shiny note for him. over his career, he's really been tough with runners in scoring position. His career batting average 188. So the Dodgers up against a tough hombre here with Crawford at second base and 1 out. Santiago on the pickoff play, but Gio Vitella is a little late in getting there. So Crawford at second base, 1 out, 5th inning, 2-0 Angels. High fly ball to right field. That looked like a changeup. Crawford tags. Calhoun has a good arm, and Crawford has to hold. So Cole Calhoun with a good arm in right field holds Crawford, a good runner, at second base, and the batter will be Jock Peterson.
Number 31, Jock Peterson.
Among other things tonight, and of course he's been looking at Peterson all spring, Roberts making some mental notes about left-handers and effectiveness against Peterson. Two down. I'm just looking. They're going to load up. The middleman is Simmons for the Angels. Simmons out on the grass. Outfield about straight away. Maybe Ortega a little bit towards right, but not much. 0-1 the count. Well, one thing in spring training, we have seen Mike Scioscia and Dave Roberts do what they probably will be doing during the year, loading up. That seems to be a rule now. Strike one pitch. Breaking ball down and away. Santiago with the other starting pitchers, Matt Shoemaker, Jared Weaver, C.J. Wilson, Garrett Richards, and of course now young Heaney, who was so effective. Andrew was a gem last night. As for Weaver, he's trying to pitch with a different arm slot, and again, that doesn't mean very much to most people, but to a professional major leaguer it's key. And you can't just drop your arm, say a 3/4 delivery. He wants a special area, and he has to be consistent because he can no longer come in and throw in the high 90s. He knows it, and the hitters know it. Last time out, Weaver had a good outing. Fastball hit the center and deep. Ortega going back to the track and makes the catch for the out. So Peterson comes close, but no cigar. No runs, a double and a man left. And at the end of 5, 2-0 Angels. Especially for you folks in Anaheim, the Dodgers and the Angels play there tomorrow night. The Dodgers will have left-hander Alex Wood on the hill, and the Angels will pitch Nick Tropiano. The only problem with that for Nick Tropiano, they've already told him he's going out to the minors. That was like last night. They had made the announcement that Al Albuquerque of the Angels was going to the minor leagues. They brought him into the game last night. What did he do? He struck out the side. So stay tuned, and let's go back to this one. 2-0 Angels. J.P. Howell on the hill. Shane Robinson will hit now. Right-hand batter against J.P. Strike to Robinson. 0-1 the count. Shane played last night. He hit into a double play. Struck out. Didn't have much luck. Choi finished up, and now perhaps he'll finish up for Choi. 1 ball and 1 strike. J.P. Howell. J.P. Howell has a bunch of pitches. You wonder how he can ever throw them for strikes, but they're so effective. Sometimes they're not strikes, and the hitter commits anyway. Oh yes, he has a fastball and a slider. Then he has a knuckle curve. He has a regular hard curve. He has a split finger. He has a fastball and a changeup. 2-1. Ground ball to short. Peterson gobbles it up, and that'll do it for Shane. And we have 1 away. You know, Thursday on an all-new episode of Backstage Dodgers, you'll go behind the scenes as the team wraps up spring training in Arizona and heads back to Los Angeles to close out the preseason. So don't miss Backstage Dodgers Thursday at 7 on Sportsnet LA. You'll get the feeling of what it's like. Well, here's Albert. Grounded to third twice. And ball 1. Funny, the memory. Every time I say Albert, I think of when I and many others were kids many years ago. And not talking about Fat Albert, whom a lot of people certainly remember. It was a dumb thing to do, but kids do dumb things, although it was harmless. We would call a tobacco store and say, "Do you have Albert in a can?" You know, there was Prince Albert, right? Kids would say, "Do you have Albert in a can?" And the guy would say, "Yes, I do." And we'd say, "Would you please let him out?" And we'd hang up. We've lost a nickel, and we thought it was hysterical. And for some reason, when I say Albert, I'm not thinking of the great Pujols. I'm thinking of being about 11 years old. 2-1 the count. Boy, Albert's long been out of the can. He's got 40 home runs last year. An all-timer on his way to the Hall of Fame. 3-1 the count. I agree, it's a dumb story. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Angels. No runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Fly ball to right field. Puig angling over. So Pujols goes 0 for 3 tonight.
Right fielder.
Pujols last night had 1 base hit. So he's about 1 for 7. JP now has gotten 2 outs. And here's Cole Calhoun. Struck out, grounded to short. James Philip Howell by name. Pitch low, ball 1. Interesting that we were talking before about the knuckle curve. And they asked Howell, how did you ever come up with that pitch? JP was watching television. That's ball 2. He was in high school. He was watching the College World Series. He was home in Sacramento. And he noticed one of the pitchers throwing a knuckle curve. That really captured his imagination. And here he is in the big leagues, slipping that in for a strike, and the count 2-1. Two out, 6th inning, 2-0 Angels. And that misses. 3-1. Calhoun struck out, grounded to short. That's in there. 3-2. Yimi Garcia, who came in briefly last night, is up in the Dodger bullpen. Seager and then the pitcher spot, and Hernandez due up for the Dodgers. Boy, you know who's having a good night? Hector Santiago. Off speed. Did that hit him? Well, it was 3-2 count. Just a question, do you want to call it ball 4, or was he hit by a pitch? We'll just make it a walk and let it go at that.
Designated hitter C.J. Cron.
Oh, it hit him. Okay. So a 2-out hit by pitch, and here comes Dave Roberts now. C.J. Cron will be coming up, and we'll see now what Dave does. He's got Garcia, and he's going to bring in Van Slyke, so it'll be a 2-for-1 switch. In other words, Seager will be followed by Van Slyke, and Yimi Garcia will bat in Peterson's spot, and we'll be right back. BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. Yimi Garcia came into the game last night to face Albert Pujols and made 2 pitches. Pujols flied to center, and Garcia was done for the night. Though he's called in now with 2 out, a runner at first, to face C.J. Cron, who grounded to third, hit a hard line drive to left field, and Carl Crawford made a fine running catch. So Calhoun hit by the pitch at first base. 2 runs, 4 hits. Scott Van Slyke is now in center. So if you're keeping score, put Garcia in Peterson's spot, put Van Slyke batting 9th, which means he's due up 2nd in the bottom of this 6th inning. That's in there. Cron 0 for 2. On 1. That's foul back. CJ trying to get his man going and keep the inning. 2 out. Might have been slightly off the plate at 94. Cron takes a shot at it. No balls and 2 strikes. The Angels scored 2 runs in the 3rd inning. Dodgers messed up a play at 3rd to give them the 2nd run, and that's it. One and 2 the count. And Andrelton Simmons, who is 0 for 2 on deck. Yimi will be 26 in August, so he's really just starting out. Signed by the Dodgers about 7 years ago. And a slider, 2 and 2. This was the night Kenti Maeda made the start for the Dodgers. The Japanese right-hander went 4 innings and allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, no walks, struck out a couple, should have been charged with only 1, so he did very well. 2-2, runner going, chased and missed at the plate by Cron. So he was going after a bad ball, strikes out, no runs, no hits, a man left, and at the end of 5.5 innings, 2-0 in favor of the Angels. Bottom of the 6th inning, it's 2-0 in favor of the Angels. And now here they come, the changes. First of all, Todd Cunningham takes over in center field for Rafael Ortega. Shane Robinson takes over in left field for Ji-Man Choi. Jeff Marte is at first base, and Albert Pujols comes out. On the mound, Mike Morin. He's a big fella, 6'4", weighs 180, which is not a lot of weight for a guy that big. He'll be 25 years old early in May, and he's from Overland Park, Kansas. Went to school at the University of North Carolina. So you can imagine how hard he will be rooting. North Carolina plays Villanova, I think. One ball and no strikes. Syracuse, I believe, plays Oklahoma, I think. Well, you know, so what am I talking about? That's fouled. 1-1 the count to Corey Seager. In the third inning, a rather impressive inning, when Santiago struck out the side. Peterson, Seager, and then the Dodger pitcher, Maeda. 1-1. Foul back. By the way, we get a correction. We had mentioned and we were told that Todd Cunningham was in center field. He is not. Rafael Ortega is still out there. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Corey Seager. Oh, badly fooled on that off-speed pitch, and down he goes. So Seager strikes out a second time, 0 for 2. And now Scott Van Slyke coming in late, facing Michael William Moran. Van Slyke visiting a little bit with Giovanni Soto. Scotty's had a very good spring, hitting .340. Admittedly, it doesn't mean anything, but nevertheless, it tells you he's been playing very well. Strike. Last night, Van Slyke started and went 0 for 3. Moran has been a pro only since 2012. That's popped up, shallow right. Gio Vitella, the middleman, makes the catch. So Van Slyke pops up, and we have 2 down. Boy, that's something from Michael Moran. 2 years.
Second baseman, number 14.
Started at Orem, and he has just worked his way up to Salt Lake City. He actually last year made 47 appearances with the Angels. So that is a rapid rise. Royals wanted him, but he opted not to sign. Here's Kike, and he takes ball 1. Ground ball deep in the hole. Andrelton Simmons throws him out. That's why that one play will tell you why everybody considers him the best fielding shortstop in the major league. Down go the Dodgers, and at the end of 6, 2-0 Angels. Back in the third inning, and that's about it. It's still 2-0 in favor of the Angels. That fine fielding shortstop, Andrelton Simmons, from the edge of the grass, throws his man out, Hernandez, easily, and now he'll lead it off. I'm sure, knowing Ellis, as Simmons got in, AJ said something like, "Fine play," and Simmons nodded his head, "Thanks." Strike. 0-1 the count. 2 runs, 4 hits. That's all for the Angels. But less than that, no runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Yimi Garcia, the third pitcher, and Chris Hatcher tuning up in the bullpen. The Angels have had Santiago and then Morin. Santiago was great. 3 hits, no runs. Relieving Santiago will be their specialist setup man, Joe Smith. A bunt in the air, foul. No play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Yimi from Moca in the Dominican Republic. Last year he came up from Oklahoma City. Did a good job for the Dodgers. One ball and 2 strikes. Fastball, little flare. It will be caught. A sliding catch by the ever-present Kike Hernandez. We're watching. We thought Hernandez caught that ball. Take another look, because holding at first base is Simmons. Oh, I see. Gonzalez cut his view. He comes right there from that angle. Yes, where we are, it looked like he caught. So instead of an out, give Simmons a pop fly single. And the batter, Giovanni Soto. You remember Soto? He used to be with the Cubs. Right. Long time ago, back in 2008, he was the National League Rookie of the Year. Who came in second that year? Joey Votto of the Reds. But Soto won going away. He had 31 votes. Votto had 1. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Giovanni asking for time. Flare single off the bat of Simmons. Garcia got 1 out, came in the 6th, and struck out C.J. Cron. Up and in for ball 2. 2-1. So for the Angels, you hear about the fact that their pitching is weak. Shoemaker went from 16-4 to 7-10 last year. Weaver went from 18-9 to 7-12. There's a chopper wide at first. Gonzalez has to feed Yimi coming over. So Simmons advancing to second. Soto moves his man along. So 1 out. And here's Rafael Ortega.
Number 39, Rafael Ortega.
Ortega single to right and fly to left. Anyway, we're talking about Angel starters. C.J. Wilson went from 13-10 to 8-8. Garrett Richards 13-4 to 15-12. So the starting pitchers helped to get the Angels 85 wins, and there was not enough. Well, it looks like they might have something better after watching Andrew Heaney last night and watching Hector Santiago tonight. Ortega 1 for 2, scored a run. 2 balls and no strikes. When the Dodgers come up in the 7th, they are due to have Yasiel Puig, Justin Turner, and Adrian Gonzalez. Puig 1 for 2, Turner 0 for 2, Gonzalez 1 for 2. And that's a strike. 2-1 the count. Anaheim tomorrow night. But the important day Monday. San Diego, Clayton Kershaw going up against a very tough pitcher, Tyler Ross, the big boy from Oakland. Foul back. Tyler Ross last year played a night game and defeated Cincinnati. Received permission, got up at 4 o'clock the next morning, went to the airport, got on a plane, flew to watch his kid brother make his major league debut for the Washington Nationals. So Tyson Ross will be a big figure on the mound. Way off the plate, ball 3. Tyson, by the way, stands 6'6". That will be opening day at 4 o'clock in the border city. Meanwhile, Garcia kind of making a lot of pitches here. 3-2 the count with 1 out and a runner at second. Tyson Ross's brother, his name is Joe. Boy, did he wait. That fastball ate him up, but he was still able to get the bat on the ball, but very late, fouling it off to the left. All right, Raphael checks back in. He's had a good spring, hitting well over 300. And that's ball 4. The Angel outfield, at least at first glance, you would have Daniel Nava in left field, Mike Trout in center, and Cole Calhoun in right. But that's first glance. Calhoun a fixture in right field, and of course Mike Trout is Mike Trout. But left field will be the position to really check out. That's also a problem in San Diego, or it was. It might not be anymore. Padres last year had 3 famous outfielders, but they were all corner outfielders. They really didn't have a center fielder. And boy, that's wide open in Petco Park. You don't have a center fielder, you're in a lot of trouble, and they wound up in a lot of trouble. So here's Gio, Johnny Viottella, the second baseman. 1 ball, no strikes. Struck out and singled. One ball and no strikes with Garcia in a little trouble. Simmons with that little pop fly. Hernandez couldn't handle it. Went as a base hit. And with 1 out, Ortega walked. Angels leading 2-0. We're in the 7th. Check swing for a strike. So for the Dodgers, they have to be a little frustrated, embarrassed, whatever. So far, they played 15 innings at Dodger Stadium. They've scored 1 run. But again, it's spring. One ball and 1 strike to Gio Vitello. Hard ground ball into right field, and they're going to wave in Simmons. Puig's throw is up the line, so the run will score. Vitello holding at first. and Ortega going all the way to third. So it's the Angels leading 3-0. But Giovatelli, 2 big hits, make himself forget about that bad at bat when he tried to bunt, couldn't do it, and then struck out.
Baseman number 6, Yunel Escobar.
So Escobar will be coming up. Third run is in. 3 runs, 6 hits. Meanwhile, Dave Roberts going to the mound. He had Chris Hatcher in the pen, and Garcia now will be driven to cover. Hatcher coming in, and we'll be back. That would be Friday, April 15th. Dodgers and Giants, too, and that's at 7:10. First 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult replica Jackie Robinson jersey presented by Bank of America. So visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Chris Hatcher came in briefly last night, made 23 pitches, and they'll bring him in now to try to restore order. Garcia struck out Cron to close the 6th, but gave up 2 singles and a walk. Of course, the first hit was that pop fly that normally I think Hernandez would catch, but not tonight. Escobar is 1 for 3. Three runs, 6 hits for the Angels, no runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. You have Ortega at third, Giovatelli at first with 1 out. Here's Escobar with Robinson on deck. Hatcher on and off the rubber. Hatcher's true full name is David Christopher Hatcher. Out of Kinston, North Carolina. He went to University of North Carolina, Wilmington as a catcher. And of course, that's the big thing about Chris Hatcher. He moved, the Marlins did, moving Hatcher to the pitcher's mound in spring training back in 2011. That year, he set himself a mark. In July of 2011, Hatcher was the first player in over 75 years to make his debut as a catcher one year and come back the following season as a pitcher. The last guy to do that did it back in 1935, Art Dahl of the Boston Braves. 2-0. 3-0. Hatcher will certainly play a key role for the Dodgers. First and third, one out, 3-0 in there for a strike, 3-1. Another left-hander, and it would be an important assignment for him. Luis Avilan throwing in the Dodger bullpen. The Dodgers would love to have Avilan join Howell, but Avilan has had a really poor training this spring, so he needs a good turnaround performance. Three-one pitch, runner going from first, and it's foul back. So Giovatello was on the move. Holding at third was Ortega, and the count goes 3-2. Escobar 1 for 3. Ron Renicky flashing signs first to Giovatello. Watching that is Escobar. So with one out is Gio going again. Heck, you don't know, in spring training they might even try a squeeze or a bunt just for the heck of it. There goes the runner, full swing, base hit into left field. So scoring easily is Ortega, and Giovatello goes all the way to third. So Escobar comes up with a ground single. That's 2 runs in the inning, and the Angels now lead 4-0. So for Escobar, his second hit and a run batted in. Giovatello is now at third, and Ortega carries in the run.
Fielder number 8, Shane Robinson. And the pinch run for the Angels, number 80, Gregorio.
So Hatcher now ready to go to work to Shane Robinson. Gregorio Peta is now a runner at first base. Four runs, 7 hits for the Angels, no runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Throw to third, no play. So Hatcher came in to pick up and pitch to Escobar and gives up the base hit. The run is charged to Garcia. High foul ball. That'll go out of play. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Angels. Just keep pecking away. The heart and soul of the Angel lineup tonight has been quiet. Choi was 0 for 3. Pujols 0 for 3. Calhoun 0 for 2. And Cron 0 for 3. And still they're leading 4-0. Jeff Marte out on deck. Little ground ball. Hatcher on his knees. Throws in time for the out to Hernandez. Scoring from third is Giovatello. And it is 5-0 Angels. The Hatcher unable to make the play. And the Angels ready to fly away to heaven. Good bunt. Hatcher slips and falls down. Adrian can't make the play, and Hatcher on his knees gets the out. So a good bunt. Down to second goes Escobar. And the run comes in. So the Angels, bottom of the lineup, the bottom 4 have scored all the 5 runs. Jeffrey Marte closing up for Albert Pujols. Up there 0-1. Marte played briefly last night. Finished up at third base for Escobar. Now he's taking the bats of Albert Pujols. Straightens him up. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jeffrey Marte, M-A-R-T-E. Marte, a non-roster player, trying to impress, get a base hit, cash in Escobar. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hatcher's fastball, slow roller to third. Turner had to re-grip it, and finally the out. 3 runs come across in the 7th inning. Yasiel Puig will lead it off, followed by Turner and Gonzalez, and it's still 5-0 Angels. To nothing as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, and the setup man for Houston Street, that means Joe Smith coming in. Joe Smith had one big problem last year. Not just he was 5-5, his earned run average finished up about 3.6. The year before, in 2014, his earned run average was 1.8. And another thing for Joe last year, he was pitching out of a stretch a lot. In 57 innings, he allowed 57 hits. Joe's from Cincinnati. They always kidded him about his pitching under an assumed name. And he'll be facing Yasiel Puig. In for a strike, coming by way of third base. Puig single left and struck out. Yasiel in the spring hitting .295. Change pulls it foul. 0-2. Way out in front, so he lost all his power and then kind of hurt himself a little bit. Not the hamstring, the small of the back. Side armor fouled away again. When Chris Iannetta was with the Angels and talking about Joe Smith, Iannetta said he's a lot easier to catch than he is to hit. In fact, Chris used to call Smith's sidearm slider a boomerang. One ball and two strikes. Joe 6'2", 205-pounder. Just turned 32. Started pitching in Brooklyn. Not with the Dodgers, but with the minor league club. Two balls, two strikes. Sidearm fastball that time. 3-2. When Joe was growing up in Cincinnati, he was a Cubs fan, and somebody said, well, how in the world can you be a Cubs fan if you live in Cincinnati? He said, well, when you would come home for school, who's on the air? The Cubs. All right. Joe Smith in 70 games last year, 76 games the year before. But that was a big jolt to go from 1.8 ERA to 3.5, almost 3.6. That sidearm off-speed pitch, and Puig strikes out a second time. One out in the seventh.
Justin Turner.
6 Dodgers have gone down on strikes. Here's Turner, hit into a double play and fly to center. And a drive to center, going back on the ball, and ready is Ortega to make the catch. So we have 2 down, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Dodgers tonight have used Maeda, followed by Blanton, followed by Howell, followed by Garcia, followed by Hatcher. Avilan was warming up in the pen, and he's still working down there. Adrian Gonzalez singled and grounded out. He's 1 for 2. Two out in the seventh. 5-0 Angels, and that's inside, ball 1. Joe Smith signed a 3-year deal with the Angels. Little sinker that misses, ball 2, 2-0. Year before, when he had that great year, Joe did not give up a run in 67 of 76 appearances. Change. 3-0. Shift is on, and Drelton Simmons is way out in right field. That's off the corner for ball 4. For the Dodgers, not much to show for 3 hits. They're grateful to have the walk. They've had 1 hit since the 2nd inning. That was that double by Carl Crawford. So here's Carl, hit into a force play and then double. Flipped a little low, ball 1. That's in there. For Crawford, a good player has to stay healthy, especially with Andre Ethier down. Shot up the middle, right there is the feed to Simmons at the bag, and that'll do it. No runs, no hits, man left. At the end of 7, it's 5-0 Angels. TV Premium for a new low price in 2016. That way you can watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams live and through HD on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions do apply, but visit MLB.tv for details. Dodgers make a lot of changes. Culberson takes over at third. Seguin takes over at first. Meese is in left, Thompson in center, and Van Slyke moves over to right. And for Luis Avilan, a very, very important appearance. The Dodgers are hoping they'd pitch a gem tonight because they would love to have another left-hander besides Howell. But Avilan's ERA is almost 12. And a strike to Calhoun. Dodgers load up the right side. Oh and 1. Curveball head into right field. So it was a hanger. Not much curve to it. It just hung. So it's a base hit to Calhoun. He's 1 for 4. And Avilan greeted with a hanging curve.
Number 24, C.J. Cron.
C.J. Cron coming up. He's 0 for 3. Grounded to third, lined out to left. That was a good running catch by Crawford. Struck out last time up. He's hit safely in 13 of 15 games until tonight. Avilan misses away. Ball 1. 1-0 the count. Must be so discouraging for a guy like Avilan, who will show you a bit of brilliance. Ground ball to short. Seager down to second. Back to first in time. So Cron goes 0 for 4. Hits into a double play. And we have 2 out. Cliff Pennington will now come up.
Now batting, the hitter, number 7, Cliff Pennington.
Pennington finishing up for Andrelton Simmons, who went 1 for 3. So Pennington, a veteran who figures to get some work. He figures to be with the club. Veteran infielder. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball hit in the air, foul down the line, slicing foul, out of play. So Pennington with life remains at the plate. Dodgers completely shut down, 3 hits. One ball and 1 strike to Cliff. Avilan hung a curve for a base hit, then got a double play. Pennington has played with a few clubs, certainly spent a long time with the Athletics. Then he bounced around, spent a couple of years with the Diamondbacks, the Blue Jays, and now with the Angels. So a much traveled Clifford Randolph Pennington facing Luis Avilan. Pennington from Corpus Christi, went to school at Texas A&M. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Two and 2. Pennington 5'10", about 210. He'll be 32 in June. Off the plate, ball 3. So Luis Avilan battling for a job tonight. Pennington last year pitched in relief, one of those runaway games. He came in the 9th inning. The Blue Jays were getting clobbered 14-2. His relief appearance got some notice from teams that looked into signing him as a free agent. And he's handy. He can play second, third, short, and he can even pitch a little bit. They said that night that he relieved, he hit 90 on the speed gun. Pretty good curveball as well. And fastball missed for ball 4. So 2 out.
Catcher number 18,
Giovanni Soto coming up. 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Angels. No runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. Dodgers have not posed a threat. They have really gotten just 1 man to second base. That's when Crawford doubled in the 5th inning. So they've been thoroughly shut down. Fastball is fouled and shakes up Ellis a little. So one catcher understands the other's pain. 0-1 the count. AJ says, I'm okay. Rafael Ortega on deck, hitting behind Soto, who is 1 for 2. Singled, walked, grounded out. 2 out. Cracked bat, ground ball wide to third. Culberson throws to first in the dirt and throws it away. So Pennington to second, rounds and holds at third. That's Seager over to cover. So Charlie Culberson, who's been playing a lot of shortstop, this time had troubles on the ground ball. That should have been the 3rd out, but it's not. So runners at first and third with out. Here's Charlie, looked at second, double clutched, couldn't do it, and then threw it in the dirt. And Sedgwick had no play. So that'll be an error. The inning is still very much alive for the Angels. And here's Rafael Ortega. Angels scored 2 runs in the 3rd. They should have scored just 1. Now they have a chance with 2 out to pick up yet another. On deck, Ray Navarro. And ball one. When Avilan is really on, he is a very, very effective pitcher. But this spring, he hasn't been on at all. Fly ball into right field. That should be a play. Van Slyke will pick it off, and the Dodgers come up with that third out. So despite the error and a walk, the Angels lead 2. And at the end of 7.5, 5-0. Angels. Houston Street comes out. Street, who has made dead ends of many offensive alignment, will now be brought in to get a bunch of outs. Couple of changes. Pennington, who stayed in and batted for Simmons and walked, is now at short. Ray Navarro has taken over for Gio Vitella at second. We know Jeffrey Marte is at first. And here we go with A.J. Ellis. He'll be followed by a Peterson and then Seager. In fact, not Peterson. Garcia went into his spot. It's Thompson finishing up in center field. So here's Ellis. Ellis twice flied to right field. One ball and no strikes. Houston Lowell Street, out of the University of Texas, originally signed by the Oakland A's. Good sinking fastball. One ball and one strike. Street has been with the Angels. This is his third year. He had been with the Padres before that, the Rockies before that. Not much of a swing by A.J. Fooled on that. And the count 1-2. For Houston Street, among other things, his dad was extremely famous, much more famous than he was. His dad, James Street, was an all-conference pitcher for the University of Texas, fouled away. In fact, his dad was good enough to share top billing with Bert Hooton. But Houston's dad, James, earned more notoriety as a quarterback, and he led the Longhorns to a Cotton Bowl win in 1970. 1-2. A little flare into right field. Charging is Calhoun. He is thinking about it, but Ellis hustles. Calhoun certainly had the idea if he doesn't hustle, I'm going to throw him out. But Ellis always hustles, has a base hit, and he's 1 for 3.
Center fielder number 41, Trace Thompson.
Trace Thompson coming up, and for Trace, he would love to do something very good offensively. Last night, Trace had 3 at-bats and struck out all 3 times, hitting only .208. Had a good year last year with the White Sox, but as scouts say, he has a very long swing. That's a strike. Early in his development, Thompson was not patient, leading to a few hard hit balls, less contact. See how he goes tonight. 0-2. Dodgers would like to have Thompson to back up Peterson in center field. Van Slyke talking to Dave Roberts. Ellis at first, nobody out, 8th inning, 5-0 Angels. And there's a little flare. It has got a drop for a base hit. So a modest thing and thine own, but it is a base hit, and the Dodgers have runners at first and second, and nobody out.
Shortstop number 5, Corey Seager.
Dodgers now have 5 hits. Corey Seager coming up. And ball 1. Houston Street has over 300 saves in his career. Picked up number 300 in July against Minnesota last year. And he's struggling a little bit now, behind 2-0. Street is 33. Two and 0. And that's going to be hit into center for a base hit. The Dodgers will wave in Ellis. Stopping at second base is Thompson. So the Dodgers finally get on the board in the 8th inning. Seager drives in the run, and it is 5-1 Angels. So Seager, who had struck out twice in a row, got a pitch running away from him and hit it into center. So the Dodgers have greeted Houston Street with 3 straight singles and the run. So here comes Van Slyke. Van Slyke batting 9th in a double switch. 0 for 1 for Scotty. Well, the crowd coming alive, trying to get the Dodgers off the floor. And big breaking ball off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes. Street, by the way, is signed through 2007. Look out, the bat split in half. And it's a Scott Van Slyke model. Back to the drawing board. 5 runs, 8 hits, and no errors for the Angels. 1 run, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Dodgers. So Street, 3 straight singles. Van Slyke gets a totally different looking bat. That one brackish brown, this one white. Little nubber. Street goes to second for 1, and that's all. So Seager is forced. Van Slyke first, over to third, Thompson. And the batter will be Kike Hernandez. Since Houston Street will be signed through 2017, the thought, can he make 400? Well, it's doubtful, but we'll see. He's been a remarkable pitcher since 2011. He's had a 92% success rate. Breaking ball fouled away. When you look at three of the very famous relievers in success, you have Rivera, who was very famous with his cutter. Then you have Hoffman, who had that great change. And then Billy Wagner, who relied on fastball. There goes the runner. The throw down is high and late. Meanwhile, at the plate, the Dodgers still have their batter up there, and they count 0-2. So the Dodgers now second and third as Van Slyke steals second base. Thompson holding at third.
Everybody clap your hands.
0-2 the count to Kike. Hernandez at second base, grounded to third, flied to right, and was thrown out on a ground ball to the hole at short. Great play by Andrelton Simmons. Strike two pitch. Little nubber. Well, we guessed we might have a few more people tonight than last night, and that's true. Last night we had 36,000. Tonight 39,714. 39,714. And popped up, foul ground. Here's Marte, the first baseman, and a big out. So the runners hold, and the batter, the Dodgers, remember, would have had Yasiel Puig, but Charlie Culberson, who is finishing up at third base, is the batter.
Number 6, Charlie Culberson.
Culberson did a nice thing. Remember, he made that error. When the inning ended, we were looking in the dugout. Charlie came in the dugout, walked halfway down to Luis Avilan, and I know he apologized to Avilan for the error. And Luis just shrugged his shoulders as if to say, hey, forget it. Those are the nice scenes you catch once in a while. Ball one. So in the inning, Ellis singled to right. Thompson singled to center. Seager singled to drive in Ellis. Van Slyke hit into a force play and stole second. And we have two down. And here's Culberson trying to pick up a couple. 2-0. Houston Street. It's been Santiago, Morin, Smith, and now Street. Way out in front of the change. 2-1. Charlie had a good spring and was very impressive playing shortstop. Foul ball. By the way, we got terrible news. I guess anyone would feel that way. As good a center fielder as we have in the National League, A.J. Pollock of Arizona tried to score. I'm not sure if there was a collision at home plate or whatever, but he broke his elbow, and he's out, I think, for the year, or at least for a long time. A.J. Pollock, a great center fielder and a terrific hitter, just coming into his own. Meanwhile, the Dodgers have second and third. Thompson at third, Van Slyke at second. Houston has a younger brother, Justin, a rising actor, who portrayed his dad, James Street, in the football film My All-American. 3-2. Fastball for ball 4, and the bases are loaded. And our thanks to Ben Platt for the note. So Rob Segedin is coming up with the bases loaded, hitting in Justin Turner's spot. Segedin is also finishing up at first base for Adrian Gonzalez. So Rob Segedin comes up with the bases loaded. A big swing. Dodgers get 4, tie up the game, and here comes Mike. So Houston Street does not normally have an inning like this. He's given up 3 singles and a walk. He does have 2 out, but they're coming to get him. They're going to the bullpen, and we'll be right back. Had a high ERA last year, 5.4. He reminds a lot of people of Garrett Richards, hard throwing, over the top right-hander. He has a big 12-6 breaking ball. Cam worked at the Steve Bedrosian School of Pitching, his father. And the breaking ball, unfortunately for him, has been picked up pretty early by the hitters. Once they pick it up, of course, they start teeing off on it like they knew it was coming. So that minimized the effectiveness of that 95-mile-an-hour fastball he has. Averaging 5 walks per 9 innings. He doesn't want to give up a walk here. So Thompson away from third. Van Slyke at second. Culberson at first. 2 out. And a strike to Rob Segedin. Oh, 2. Segedin has been a pro since 2010. Last year still in the minor leagues. 0-2. Smothered by Soto behind the plate. 1-2 the count to Rob. So Cam Bedrosian trying to get an out here. Of course, he came in at a good time. Instead of facing Puig and Turner, he comes in to face Segedin, and it was a break for Street. Instead of facing Puig, he faced Culberson. 5-1 Angels. Bottom of the 8th. And fastball misses. That's 96. We were talking about him as a 95-mile-an-hour pitcher. Cam Bedrosian, after Houston Street got into a mess. 2-2. Off speed, a drive to left. Going back on the ball and making the catch is Robinson. So a long fly ball out. Seguin came close. No cigar. 1 run comes in, and at the end of 8, it's 5-1 Angels. Bullpen to try to close up the top of the 9th inning. Kenley came in and pitched the 9th inning last night. Faced 3 batters, struck out 1 of them. Last year, like always, those remarkable numbers: 10-1, 80 strikeouts and only 8 walks. Averaging something like 14 strikeouts every 9 innings. Jansen now. Ray Navarro will start it off. Navarro batting in the spot of Gio Votella. Ray AAA had a good spring. We'll see what the left-hand hitter can do against Jansen. So 2 premier relievers in the game. 2 very good setup men. It was Smith setting it up for Street. Hatcher normally setting it up for Jansen. 1-1. Gregorio Pettit, playing third base for Escobar, is out on deck. One ball, 1 strike. After Pettit would cut Robinson, who caught that drive off the bat of Seguin. That's in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 39,714 came out tonight. There's still a good portion of the original crowd here. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Both bullpens are busy. Pedro Baez throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Jose Alvarez warming up in the Angel pen. Same 2 clubs in Anaheim tomorrow night for the final game of the 3-game exhibition series. Big overhand breaking ball, not even close. Dodgers opening up Monday with San Diego. The Angels will open up at home against the Cubs on Monday. Three and two the count to Ray Navarro. And a little pop fly. Trouble in River City, but coming in a hurry to pick it off is Johan Meeses. So a little fly ball to left, one down. And now here's Pettit finishing up at third for Escobar. Gregorio Petit. Okay. One out, ninth inning, 5-1. Angels. Jansen not with good delivery motion, at least for the moment. He's turned his back on the hitter with a pitch in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. And that misses inside, ball 2. Gregorio Petit is from Venezuela. Two and 0. That's a strike. 2-1. Petit's been playing professionally since 2003. He was with the Yankees briefly last year. Chases a bad ball and the count 2-2. So they had a cup of coffee with Houston 2 years ago and then with the Yankees last year. .510 and a stocky 200 pounds. So 2 down in the top of the ninth. Jansen, as usual, picking up a strikeout.
Left fielder number 8, Shane Robinson.
Shane Robinson coming up. Made the good catch on the long fly ball by Seguin with 2 out and the bases loaded. Robinson started last night in left, gave way to Ji-Man Choi, and tonight Choi started and gives way to Robinson. When the Dodgers come up, Meeses, Crawford, and Ellis in that order. That finds the mark. 1 ball and 1 strike. Big curveball, slow curve at that. 2-1 the count to Shane Robinson. We told you the story last night back in 2013, game 4 of the LCS against the Cardinals. He hit a home run as a pinch hitter against the Dodgers here at Dodger Stadium. It was the extra run and the Cardinals beat the Dodgers 4-2 and went on to beat the Dodgers in the championship in 6 games. Curveball pulled down the line, hooking as it goes foul. So Shane will come back and try it again. 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Angels. 1 run, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Dodgers. Dodgers waited until the 8th inning to get on the scoreboard. The Angels scored 2 in the 3rd inning and 3 more in the 7th. The 2 against Maeda, 1 of them unearned, and the 3 against Hatcher. So deuces wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. And strike 3 called on a fastball at the knees. So for Jansen, he strikes out 2 of 3. And we're heading for the bottom of the 9th inning. Angels 5, Dodgers 1. Jose Alvarez will come in out of the bullpen and try to get some outs and end this game. Alvarez last year is not a big man anyway. He's 5'11", 180. Nothing really wrong with that, but he's not really that ideal size you'd like. Somebody like as big as Kenley Jansen. Alvarez has a very efficient delivery. It helps the southpaw get the most out of his modest size, and he'll get the ball up to the low 90s. So we will see as Johan Meeses coming up, facing Jose Alvarez. Meeses finishing up in Gonzalez's spot. And a strike, 0-1. We saw Meeses briefly last night. His last name is Claudio, Johan Meeses Claudio, from the Santo Domingo area in the Dominican Republic. He started in the rookie just 2 years ago, so he's just beginning. Austin Barnes is on deck. Crawford, while he was in there, was 1 for 3. No balls, 2 strikes. A lot of young players figuring they're going to go out. Some are doubtful whether they might make the clubs or not. And it'll all wind up for the Dodgers tomorrow night. Little fly ball to right. Late start in right field for Calhoun. In fact, that's not Calhoun anymore. Meeses into second base. Yeah, it is. Cole had a late start on the fly ball and played it into a single, overran the ball to make it a 2-base fly ball. Here he comes as hard as he can. It lands and then skips away from him. So Meeses at second base, and Austin Barnes will now come up. Dodgers are very interested in Barnes. He's not only a good catcher, and he hit .315 in AAA last year, didn't put up numbers this spring. He did have 4 home runs, but he also played a little infield. So Dave Roberts with Mises at second, nobody out, 9th inning, 5-1 Angels. Way out in front of that off-speed 78-mile-an-hour change. One and one. And a comebacker. Mises will hold, and the out recorded at first. And for Barnes, another off-speed pitch. He cued that ball right off the end of the bat.
Catcher number 17.
So 1 out. A.J. Ellis going all the way behind the plate. I'm not sure when Yasmani Grandal will start. I don't know whether he'll be able to start on Monday, but you know how Ellis seems to always catch Clayton Kershaw. And first pitch, ball 1. Before the game tonight, Dave Roberts was talking about Grandal. Said he felt good, but not great after playing in a minor league game. So if he doesn't feel like he can sustain his health, then he'll start the season on the DL. So all of a sudden the Dodgers might go into the season with A.J. Ellis backed up by Austin Barnes and no Grandal and no Kendrick, etc. No Ethier. 1-1. In the dirt, nice save by Soto. Two and one the count. Two and one. Alvarez delivers, and a foul ball in the count. 2-2. Angels scored 2 in the 3rd, 3 in the 7th. Dodgers couldn't do anything until they finally got a run in the 8th inning, and the 3rd out came with the bases loaded. It's the only time the Dodgers have had a look at the game. Good fastball. Ellis walking away after talking to the plate umpire. So the Dodgers are down to their last out. Trace Thompson, who's singled, coming up. 5 runs, 8 hits, and no errors for the Angels. They will be 17-8 with 6 ties. The Dodgers losing tonight will be 13-16 with 3 ties. Fastball strike. Dodgers 1 run, 7 hits, 1 error. Way out in front of that changeup. Boy, he's got a good one. No balls and 2 strikes. And another one off the plate. Acts like a screwball. And another off-speed pitch. And so Thompson strikes out. Down go the Dodgers. So it's 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Angels. 1 run, 7 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. And the player of the game, well, I would certainly think Hector Santiago, who looked great. He went 5 innings. Struck out 4, allowed 3 hits and nothing else, and he was in strong command. In fact, in the first 5 innings, the Dodgers had 1 man get to second base. So the Angels sweep the 2 here. They'll play tomorrow night in Anaheim. And for now, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody. And you too, little boy and girl.